Pistons Live is presented by Cure Auto Insurance. What a game, and how about the end? A little rhubarb between the two clubs. Not a ton of love lost between the two sides. Hard-fought game all night long, but it's Orlando who wins this one, of course. Now 1-1 on the season against Orlando, but the magnitude of this one is because it was the final game of group play for the NBA Cup. So now the Orlando Magic move on. Pistons now officially eliminated from the Cup. Johnny and Grant with you here. Man, opportunity right at the end of the ball game, much like what you saw in Boston. Wow. And let's go right to it. I mean, this was about as good as you could draw it up at the end with the Cade on the intentional miss.
Yeah, Cade got the perfect miss. It caromed off the rim right to the best shooter on the ball club. 55 three-point field goals made for Duncan Robinson. The ball gets to him, but give the defense a lot of credit. Orlando right there on the spot recognized that Duncan Robinson could not offer up a pump fake, and the defender challenged the shot right away, and that's the end of the ball game. Listen, people always talk about numbers don't lie. Well, in this instance, the numbers do lie because the Pistons out-rebounded the Orlando Magic big time. But the clutch rebounds, the ones that meant so much to pretty much seal the fate of the Orlando Magic or give the Pistons an opportunity, they never came up with those rebounds. And we always say long shots equal long rebounds. And pretty much that's what happened on those last three possessions, long rebounds that the Pistons did not come back to get.
Let's take a look at him in our Buick GMC Pro Vision because, especially on Orlando's last offensive possession, the last true offensive possession, long rebound. I mean, 4 rebounds to my count from where I was watching. And again, Pistons, there were some decent closeouts on it, but, typically on those 4 opportunities, Pistons are going to come away with one of them. Maybe it changes the complexity of the game, but then they were forced into a position. They had to foul, and obviously Orlando able to go to the line to stretch it to 3. Let's take a look at it because this was big. Again, uncharacteristic for the Pistons. One of the best rebounding teams in the NBA, but here in these spots, Orlando got them when they needed them.
Yeah, and you look how spread out the Pistons are when these rebounds come off the rim. Everybody's out on the perimeter, but nobody comes back in that mid-range area to secure the rebound. What would help if you checked out your individual, then you'd come away with those rebounds. But in today's NBA, that's just how it goes. There's not a whole lot of physical play outside of the painted area when that shot goes up. I was taught a long time ago when I first started to play basketball, Johnny, when that shot goes up, if you're not engaged with the opponent, you're in the wrong position. And on those last 3 or 4 possessions for the Pistons, they just didn't check out on the offensive players and to secure that rebound.
One of the things that J.B. Bickerstaff always talks about it, paying attention to the detail, kind of the heightened alertness that you need, especially in these games when you're playing. You always want it, but on Cup night, you're really playing for something, and that's where, again, just that, even just a little small mental hiccup where you're like, I didn't close out the way I should have. And you say, well, that ends up being a difference in a ball game. I mean, the margin is so slim, especially both teams playing for so much. Orlando looks a little different, obviously, with Paolo Banchero being out. Franz Wagner, we knew was going to be, a focal point tonight. He was pretty quiet in the first half, but Desmond Bane, we knew he'd be a problem.
Sure.
His shooting, his three-point shooting had been great all year, but he's kind of like that, ever since they got him from Memphis, he's kind of like that attack dog. And he really put his team on his shoulders tonight, and you got to tip your cap. He's a heck of a player, and obviously everything they got from him pushed them across the finish line.
Listen, when you look at how Desmond Bane is built, he's built for physical play, strong upper body, biceps tonight. He's more than capable, but he's also a guy that more than likely will deflect when Paolo Banchero's on the floor. This was his night to shine offensively, and he stepped up. We've seen it with the Pistons. Listen, the Pistons won 13 games in a row. Right. And a lot of those games, Cade Cunningham and the rest of the starters were not in the ball game, not even on the floor. So we shouldn't be surprised when another team gets out there and shows us that they are very well equipped in their depth. And I think we saw that tonight with the Orlando Magic. Their star player Banchero is out. Somebody next man up attitude steps up and has a big game. We saw it plenty of times with the Pistons.
Yeah, again, Orlando's now 8 of the last 10 games. They're trending in the right direction as they try to get healthy when Banchero does come back. We will see these guys again down the road. But again, tonight with the stakes what they were, it's Orlando who moves on in the Cup. Pistons eliminated from Cup contention. J.B. Bickerstaff spoke with reporters just moments ago. Let's send you inside.
JB, between the turnovers in this one and some of the defensive lapses, what felt like the biggest factor to you in not being able to take full control like you guys had at the beginning of the game?
I mean, 24 turnovers is hard to overcome. The time that they came and how they were coming that, led to one of the best fast break teams in our league right now. So I think that's hard to overcome. But again, we put ourselves in position. Couldn't come up with the ball in the final possession there. But our guys battled and gave themselves a chance down the stretch.
Yeah, what did you see just from the group and the way they responded in that final stretch?
Yeah, I mean, that's who they are. And that's why, these games hurt, is because they do have that resiliency. They do care. They are committed. And they laid it all out there tonight and tried their best. But just, again, a few possessions here, a few plays there, ended up costing us in the long run.
Question.
Not very often this team is outscored in the paint. Just what were you seeing there, the physicality of the game?
I mean, again, I thought that's one of the things that they do. I thought they drove us. We could have been earlier in our help spots. We allowed them to get too deep. But, again, we'll take a look at it and we'll correct it.
I think the first field goal for the team in the fourth quarter was around the 7-minute mark with that Duncan Robinson three. Just the offense stagnating through the first half of the fourth. What did you see there? And how much do you think that three from Duncan helped kind of undo things toward the end?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, kind of a work in progress there with bringing guys back and who's going to play in those minutes when Cade is out of the game, and then figuring out, the offensive identity of that group and how we can continue, to play faster, but we can move teams around. Our stops have to help us so we can get out and run, because that group should be pretty athletic and pretty fast. So, again, we're working on it. And guys will get more comfortable in their roles. We'll, get more comfortable in our rotations.
It didn't seem like either side was happy with the officiating tonight, and Cade emotional at one point. Just how frustrating can that be, just as a coach in this game, when that seems to get in the way of things? I
mean, it is frustrating. The lack of consistency is what was what on both ends of the floor, right? I'm not saying, we were reffed any different than they were. But, I mean, there was no balance and no flow to the game of what was going to be deemed a call tonight. And, I could go further, but I'll stop.
You talked about wanting to run a 12-man rotation just to kind of, give guys opportunities to play. Do you think that's made a bit of a, tougher impact in terms of their adjusting, or do you think it's just kind of part of the game?
I don't.
They had 16 turnovers at halftime, which had gone 22 points the other way. So they cleaned it up a little bit, but the number's so high. I mean, 24 turnovers in a given night. Again, those are empty possessions. You know that, but like with Bain and Brown and Suggs, Orlando, they messed some things up too. And you give them a ton of credit for they were able to dictate the style in a lot of ways.
Well, listen, when we came on at the very beginning of the game, we talked about the Pistons wanting to make this a half-court battle, because then if you do that, the Pistons' physical presence would wear down this Orlando Magic team. We did not want to see them get into transition where they could open up the floor and exploit maybe some slow defensive reactions. Well, the 15 turnovers, 16 turnovers in the first half really allowed the Orlando Magic to get out and play in transition, something that we did not want this team to do, and they thrived in those areas, forcing turnover after turnover. Again, those are empty possessions that the Pistons don't have, and then you give a team like the Orlando Magic a lot of life, because this is what they like to do: run in transition, play in open spaces. They have the athletes to do it. Defensively, they were all over the place. Let's give them a lot of credit. They forced some turnovers. The Pistons gave up a lot of unforced turnovers, but at the end of the day, in the category of turnovers, the Pistons had too many of them to compete in this ball game tonight.
About double what you want to live with. You want to stay right around 12, not 24. You saw Jalen Suggs there, a little heat check. He didn't let the slow shooting start to his night get in the way. Thought he really came on there in the second half to provide a lift. And Cade, 40-point triple-double. Again, kind of like the other night in Boston, has 42, but it ends in defeat. Tonight, 40 points, the triple-double. Laid it all out there. He's our Curado player.